You know what this means, right? What any self-respecting YouTuber does when they see every movie that is presently released in a franchise, like, seeing Alien Covenant, now seeing all 8 Alien movies in the franchise. Yeah, time for a ranking video. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my ranking of all 8 Alien movies. I'm looking forward to doing this, a good culmination of all the work Cody and I have done going through and watching these movies and putting them all together. Now, if you've been following Cody Leach and I in our reviews of each of the Alien movies leading up to Alien Covenant, you know that I didn't grow up watching these movies, and I had never seen these movies. So going through this franchise with Cody Leach just last month, going through this, was my first time ever watching the Alien movies in this franchise. So I have no sentimental value to these. I didn't grow up with them or anything like that, so I was watching them fresh, with fresh eyes, building up towards Alien Covenant. And so now jumping into this ranking video, that's kind of where I'm at. So I hope you don't get too mad at some of my rankings. So we ready? Here we go.
In a world where the sun burns cold and the wind blows colder.
Coming in at number 8 for me is Alien 3. This was actually the first movie on my channel to get an F. I mean, there really isn't anything redeeming about it. And so I've since kind of thought back, I've cooled off a little bit on the emotion about it, and I've thought about it, and I still think this is a terrible movie. And I think it's a terrible movie mostly because it had potential to be so much better. I first was really upset that we spent all this time with Hicks and Newt in the movie Aliens. We spent all this time trying to make sure that they survived. We got the payoff at the end of that movie that they survived. I mean, we got all of that. And then, with no ceremony whatsoever, no emotion, in the beginning of Alien 3, we just sort of wiped them out. And I think the reason being is because they shot this movie a number of years later than Aliens, so the actress playing Newt was no longer a child, which doesn't make sense in this movie where they go into that little hyperspace sleep and, they're supposed to wake up at basically the same age. So, yes, on the one hand, I get it, okay? Newt is older, so they have to try to write something, but just write something different. I don't know. I mean, it was an interesting concept with them being on that prison planet with the one alien being unleashed. It had interesting concepts. I just didn't think that it was executed that well. So Alien 3 just was not my favorite. And more than anything, it lands this spot because to me, it was just such a letdown that we had all this intensity and all this buildup at the end of Aliens, and we get none of that payoff in Alien 3, and we get to watch all that work go down the drain in the first few minutes. That just it makes me angry. And at number 7 for me is Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Now, after seeing Alien Covenant, I think officially now AVP and AVPR are not really part of this franchise. They're not part of the, chronologicalness of these movies. They're just fun little offshoots, but I don't know. They were part of my viewing of this whole franchise, so they're getting included in this. And AVPR, I put at my number 7 because, well, I didn't really like it that much. I mean, after watching AVP and having way more fun with that movie than I expected to have, and going into AVPR, it just wasn't that good. It was boring. And something Cody Leach and we were talking about in our review of AVPR, one of the big things that this movie missed was the idea that now you have a predator alien, a hybrid of the alien and the predator. What cool things could they have done with that they didn't do? But overall, while I was watching this movie, I just had this overwhelming feeling of disinterest. Like, I realized while I was watching AVPR, I had spaced out for about 15 minutes and was thinking on other things.
I wasn't listening. I was thinking of something else.
Just utterly spaced out, and then realized I don't care. I don't want to rewind it 15 minutes. I don't want to go back and try to get the idea of what is going on here. I just kind of let it roll forward. So I was not invested in the characters. They didn't take advantage of this pred alien that they had. There was just so many really cool missed opportunities with AVPR, and that's why it lands at my number 7. Number 6 for me is Alien Resurrection. I'm learning that a lot of people really hate this movie, and honestly, I understand why a lot of people hate this movie. I was struggling with this movie and just the opening sequence of it, but remembering that Alien 3 ended with Sigourney Weaver throwing herself in a really bad computer animated fire and a chest burster bursting out of her and all that stuff. So, they're trying to figure out how do we put Sigourney Weaver back in this movie. For me, that was the hardest part. And that's the part where I can understand why a lot of people don't like it, because the opening of Alien Resurrection has to be that bridge between Alien 3, a movie that a lot of people didn't like, into a brand new take. and into a whole brand new thing of Alien here. But once I got past the beginning and I got past some of the dumb jokes in the beginning and some of the weird ways of them trying to explain things are, in some cases where I don't think they explain things well enough, but that's probably because they didn't really have the explanation. But once we really got into the movie and we met these cast of characters, I didn't realize till I was doing this with Cody Leach that Joss Whedon actually wrote this script. And then once I knew that, looking back, it's like, yeah, I can recognize those familiar Joss Whedon things. I'm a fan of Joss Whedon. I like the way he directs. I like the way that he writes. And so I like the way that he writes characters, the way he writes those ensemble pieces really well, and each character has their own arc in it. And I kind of thought the same thing with this. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was creepy the way those scientists were raising those aliens like cattle, the way that one creepy guy was trying to kiss the alien through the glass and things like that. It's like, it was weird and it was creepy, but it was interesting because each character had their own, thing going on. And then each of the aliens seemed to have their own personality. Like when you have the aliens communicating with each other and then they kill the one alien and his blood spills on the ground and burns that hole, and then you realize, oh, that's what they were doing. They were talking about who are they going to kill so they can all get out of there, who was going to draw the short straw. So to me, there were a lot of interesting things with the aliens, giving the aliens personalities and things like that. Winona Ryder, as the next synthetic in this movie, the android, I like what they do with the androids in each of these movies, and now we have an android that is praying, which seems like a contradiction, and so it's just another little interesting character thing. And that whole underwater sequence when they're trying to escape aliens underwater, holy cow, that was a good scene. So it had a lot of great things in it, but it didn't come out a great movie, but I think I ended up enjoying it a great deal more than others. Like a lot of people, I do agree that the weird human-alien hybrid... That was a little weird. That was kind of a bummer way to end the franchise at that time as well. But beyond that, Alien Resurrection, I did enjoy it. I do not have an absolute hate for that movie, and there was just enough in it that I was like, yeah, I can enjoy that. Number 5 for me is Alien vs. Predator. I think this is gonna fall higher up on some of my other friends' lists, but I put this at my number 5 because it is kind of a middle of the road movie for me, so I thought that's a perfect one to throw right there in the middle of the road. I had so much more fun with this movie than I thought I was gonna have. I first just really enjoyed the whole thing with the pyramid. That was just interesting. It added this whole air of mystery. I like what it added to the alien mythology, and I really wished, watching Alien Covenant, watching Prometheus and things like that, that they would have done more to allude to AVP, because I get it, especially with AVPR, the AVP franchise did not do as well as they wanted. But AVP was a really fun movie. I thought it added a lot to the alien mythology. I thought it added a lot to the Predator mythology. I thought it did a really great job taking these characters and shoving them into this pyramid, introducing us to Weyland and maybe where the corporation begins to come from that begins to run everything in the alien universe. Our leading lady in that movie was so awesome that I'd just say, Sigourney Weaver, eat your heart out, because she befriends a Predator and teams up with a Predator carrying an alien spear, which is the alien's tail, and a shield, which is the alien's head, and she goes and just hardcore fights aliens with a freaking Predator. There was enough in this movie that I had so much fun with AVP, and it also, what made it fall in my middle of the road was just the idea that now Prometheus and Alien Covenant are, they're establishing a mythology with the aliens that does not include AVP, which makes me kind of sad, and it kind of just... I like it when things kind of all fit in together, and I know that's not AVP's fault that it doesn't fit in there, but that's kind of also what shoves it more of the middle of the road for me, because now it doesn't really fit with the alien mythology that we're establishing with these prequels. It doesn't really fit in, but I still really liked what it did, but because now it doesn't actually fit in this franchise technically, I guess that's why it falls in my middle of the road, but I really did like it. My number 4 is Alien, the original Alien movie. I really did like Alien. There's a lot of things I really liked about it. I liked us meeting Sigourney Weaver. I liked it was just one alien inside this spaceship, so, it wasn't like hundreds of aliens or anything like that. I liked the intensity with each scene as they're going through and they're trying to hunt down this alien and get it out. Could not stand that stupid cat. Let the cat be lunch for the alien and move on with your day, okay? Let the cat go. I get it. I like animals. I had cats. I like cats. I like dogs. No, in any other circumstance, I don't want to see the cat die, but when you have a massive alien running around on your ship, let the cat die and get yourself off the ship. Are you serious? Anyway, there was just a lot that was really good about it, and I was also really surprised seeing a movie in the 70s where the alien looked that good. But I did really enjoy Alien when I watched it. It was a really, really good movie. It's just as I started to watch some of the other movies in the franchise, I liked the directions that they took things a little bit better. So I really liked Alien. Fantastic starting point, and forever a classic movie. Now, number 3, this is where it's going to get controversial, that I would put Alien at number 4, and then I'm going to put this movie above it in my ranking. Please keep in mind, it's just because I did not grow up with this franchise. My number 3 is Prometheus. I know a lot of people really did not like this movie, and I understand why. So here's my case where I put Prometheus ahead of Alien in my ranking. I liked them traveling to this new planet. I liked them finding this whole ancient place. I liked them finding the whole vats of the weird alien goo and all that stuff. And like I said in my review of Prometheus with Cody, what Alien Covenant ends up doing and how Alien Covenant goes to answer some of the questions in Prometheus will end up determining how much more or how much less I ended up liking Prometheus. And Alien Covenant did a great job incorporating the themes of Prometheus and answering not all the questions, but enough of the questions that I ended up enjoying Prometheus an awful lot more. And so I feel like Prometheus is, fits in a little bit better. The problems that I had with Prometheus and why it's not at my number 1 is because it did feel like it started as an awesome standalone sci-fi film, and then somewhere in the middle of it, they decided, you know what, let's just make this an Alien prequel. So all the stuff where they tried to throw in the Alien stuff, it felt like that was kind of shoved in, and it felt like it didn't really fit because it just felt like that wasn't the original plan. I could be totally wrong about that. I'm just going based off my feeling when I was watching that. And so for me, those are the weak points of Prometheus. And that's where I have that understanding where a lot of people don't like Prometheus, where a lot of people would rank that much lower on their list of one of the things they don't like. But I ranked it higher because I loved the score, I loved the cinematography, I thought overall it was very beautiful, and even though the alien stuff did more to confuse me and did more to raise so many more questions, I thought the overall story of them hunting down and trying to figure out the origins of life, learning about these engineers and things like that were just they were interesting enough to me that I ended up really enjoying this movie. And yeah, and plus it was the first movie I saw in the Alien franchise. I did see Prometheus before I saw all these others, then finally I went back and watched all the others and then watched Prometheus in line with it, which was quite an interesting experience, but that's why Prometheus falls at my number 3. Number 2 on my list, Aliens. Aliens was freaking fantastic. How do you go wrong with Bill Paxton?
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
And how do you do a sequel to Ridley Scott's Alien? I just like what James Cameron did. He did not just follow a certain formula from Alien. He's like, no, we're going to do something different. We're going to throw a troop on here that are going to go to this colony. The colony is destroyed by the aliens. Oh yeah, it's not one alien in this movie. It's lots of aliens. So now all these army people are going to have to take on a whole bunch of aliens and fight for their survival on this desolate planet. And that was incredibly interesting to me. And, it's just a great movie. First off, the fun characters. They get you really attached to Hicks really fast. They get you attached to Newt really fast. They reintroduce you to Sigourney Weaver and get you really attached to her really fast. Paul Reiser, a comedian, he's in this movie, and he's fantastic. He did a really great job. I mean, he was just a cold, soulless guy, and then you have the android, who is Bishop, who is not the cold, soulless guy. So the machine, who should be cold and soulless, is the one fighting for humanity, and then you have Paul Reiser, who is a human and is supposed to have a soul, being the cold, soulless one, doing whatever he can to make money in the midst of all this death. And so, things like that were really fascinating. The whole point where you had the two facehuggers escape in the lab, and you have Sigourney Weaver and Newt, and they're just, trying to hide, and you hear their little feet pattering all over the place. Aliens was just a fantastic movie. Which leaves my number 1, I'm sure you can guess, Alien Covenant. I was really surprised by this movie. You could go back and watch my live video I did before going to see the movie of my expectations and what I was kind of expecting from the movie. Then you could go check out my live review that I did that was spoiler free and see how I really thought of this movie and what I got with those expectations. Alien Covenant did not bridge everything between Prometheus and it. It did not answer all the questions, but it still built enough of a bridge for me that I was incredibly fascinated with it. So, since this is spoilers, I'll get into some things. I loved what what they did with Michael Fassbender. I loved what they did with him playing David and what they did with him playing Walter. Here he is playing completely two different characters that are like the same kind of android. And it was just so fascinating. It was fascinating that we land on the planet of the engineers, which is something that I really wanted to see, the way they ended Prometheus. And honestly, I was afraid they just weren't gonna do it. I just thought it was interesting. They got Dr. Shaw's signal from space, from this planet that looked like it would be the perfect planet and habitat for life, and why wasn't this in our log? On top of the fact that this movie did my other favorite thing, and that was deepening the mythology, because they actually land on the planet of the engineers. We find David from the movie Prometheus. We find all this sinister stuff going on. We figure out where the facehuggers actually come from. So that one question I had on Prometheus, how do we get to facehuggers, got bridged in this movie. And so I like seeing things like that bridged. I like getting just even the little snippet that we got of the engineers. It was really cool. Alien Covenant took the best of the movies that I've liked and put them together. It took the best of Prometheus, which was the mythology building and the world building. It took the best of Aliens, which was the action, which was the intensity, which was the ferocity of these aliens. It was all that scariness, and they took those things and they combined them together, and I feel like it did it just right. I wasn't bored in this movie. I was intrigued by this movie. It was action-packed, and I walked out of that movie pleasantly surprised, getting far more than I expected. So that's why Alien Covenant lands at my number 1. I am fully aware that as I did my ranking video, for a lot of people who grew up with the Alien franchise, I'm sure the way I play some of these movies are a little controversial and are gonna raise a few eyebrows, and that's fine with me. This is just me who in the last month and a half just started watching this franchise, how I would rank it, because I'm new to all of this. So what I want to hear is, how would you rank it? Let me know in the comments, and while you're there, hit that subscribe button to become a Durbanian. Next to the subscribe button is that bell. When you click that bell, you'll get notified the moment I drop new videos, like Wednesday this week, gonna be dropping my top 5 favorite Batman movies, because that was requested by a YouTube viewer, and I'm super excited to fulfill that request. So I will be doing another ranking video on Wednesday, going through my top 5 favorite Batman movies, and that's gonna be really hard. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Plus, later this week, got my reviews for Pirates of the Caribbean and all kinds of fun things like that coming out. So make sure you check out my other videos here on my channel, like and share this video. I'm Durbin. Thank you for checking out Durbania.